What is going on, Browns fans? Welcome to the Cleveland Pulse. We are live with breaking news. If you weren't here in the past 30 minutes, 45 minutes, Jeff did upload a video without me because I was lacking, people. I was lacking. I was taking a nap. I was asleep. If it looks like I was waking up from a nap, I was. And so, in that time that I was lacking, the Browns have acquired Amari Cooper for a fifth and a sixth, Jeff. Correct?
We got Amari and a sixth for a fifth and a sixth.
Wow. So,
I
huge
believe.
news. I'm still trying to comprehend it. It has a lot of implications. We talked about it last night. We didn't talk about the implications it could have, but we did talk about him being acquired by us, and we're on top of it right now. So we wanted to get active on a live, see if we could get some people in the chat and get some reactions and talk about it. So, Jeff, obviously a huge move for the Browns. We talked about the wide receiving room needing some work, but with that all being said, how are you feeling? I know you were able to get up a video and react to it a little bit. What are some other thoughts that you may not have gotten off your chest in that video?
Well, I totally blew by the Jarvis Landry situation, which was a mistake. That's how it always happens when you upload a video. You're like, oh, yeah, I probably missed, 3 or 4 things at least. But it's going to be interesting. The money, is there going to be a restructure? If the trade is official, so, we get Cooper in a sixth, and the Cowboys get a fifth and a sixth. So, I mean, that puts a bad taste, like, in Amari Cooper's mouth, which I actually like, that part of the aura of the trade. It's like, wow, Jerry really didn't want him, to a certain extent. Like the front office of the Cowboys was like, we'll just send you out for basically
Nothing.
Nothing basically. So I think there's a lot of different things going on.
Jeff, you made in the video that you covered, you made the analysis of 3 years ago today.
Yeah,
Beckham Jr. was traded for.
Don't like that.
You remember the compensation that was given up for Odell? A whole first rounder.
Jabril,
a whole first rounder, and I believe the Olivier Vernon trade was different, where I believe we gave up our right tackle at the time, Kevin Seitler, as well. But a first and Jabril Peppers, and we get Amari Cooper for a fifth, basically a fifth round pick, essentially, which is, like you've been saying, crazy. Just to go over a couple of stats / money things here, I sent to Jeff as I've been on Twitter in the last 10 minutes. I think I've been awake for the last, 11. First things first, from Jack Duffin, how Cooper's contract looks now. 2022, $20 million guaranteed. 2023, $20 million guaranteed. 2024, $20 million. Did I say 2023, $20 million guaranteed? 2023, $20 million, and 2024, $20 million. I expect $18 million of base salary converted to signing bonus. So new deal, 2022, $8 million. 2023, $26 million, $12 million dead if cut. 2024, $26 million, $6 million dead if cut. And the next thing from Jordan Zerm, a quick reminder that Amari Cooper is just 27 years old. Jeff, a lot to take in there. What about those two things excites you?
Well, I'm totally lacking because he sent this to me, and I'm trying to get it up. So let me see. There's a lot of numbers going on there. So that's
Right.
The first thing. It's like there's a lot to – Andrew Berry had to think about what was going on, in the future as well. So it's $20 million guaranteed. I think that was the number, but you're expecting, like I said, Jarvis to be gone. So you're swapping – it's the 16 mil that were owing Jarvis for 20 mil of Amari Cooper and 18 mil base salary converted to signing bonus. So new deal, $8 million to free up the cap. That's sick. Honestly, that's 2022. So we're only going to eat $8 million on the cap space this year with the number already going up. So we're going to have more mobility. We're not done, I think, is what I'm getting from these original numbers.
Yeah. And, you mentioned it there, Jarvis Landry. And before you mentioned it, he could be cut here. I'm seeing Jeff, I'm going to send this to you. Hopefully you can get it up here in a moment. But BR Bleacher or Gridiron, I believe is Bleacher Report, putting up a picture of Brown's new wide receiver duo, which is a picture of Amari Cooper and Jarvis Landry.
That's funny.
listen, as of right now, yes, it is the current duo, but
It's true.
could it be a lasting duo? Who knows? Let's actually talk about that though, Jeff. As of right now, we're in the present. We're living in the present. Talk about Jarvis Landry and Amari Cooper potentially being a duo as of right now.
I mean, I totally hate it, honestly. I know that people are going to want to get rid of Jarvis's contract, and that's kind of the reaction to the action of getting Amari Cooper. But I mean, this is what you would want. If your worst case scenario is we keep 13, let's go with that scenario. If we keep the 13th overall, you're going to have like Amari being your one.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have the person at 13 competing to be like the one if they're like the real deal generational talent, and then Jarvis Landry is going to be your third wide receiver, and DPJ is going to be 4. So right. Jarvis Landry getting the third cornerback on teams like the Steelers don't have enough cornerback depth to be playing Jarvis Landry at the 3. Like Cincinnati maybe, and the Ravens probably like would still be, I think, the best matchup against us somehow, like if we're just talking division. But I don't know how many teams in the league are going to have their third overall cornerback or whoever's covering Jarvis Landry, specifically in the slot, who's going to be able to keep up. So either way, I think you got a mismatch if we keep Landry and we draft a guy at 13.
Yeah, and so it'll be interesting because for me, obviously, Jeff kind of made a little point about it with being traded for essentially a 5th-round pick. Is Amari Cooper going to come in here and, want to burn up the league and whatnot? I'm really interested to, hear from him. That'll be something that, we might not get until OTAs and whatnot. But it is, I think, worth mentioning. It could be a sign of, change and just the whole organization right now. We're technically 2.5 years in. No, we're technically 2 full years in the Andrew Berry, Kevin Stefanski regime. Mm-hmm. And they've now made their, biggest trade for a player. I alluded to Jeff earlier yesterday through messages that the biggest trade for a player that Andrew Berry has made so far was when he first got here for Andy Janovich, the fullback that is no longer on the team. And now it looks like they could not necessarily be cleaning house, but kind of just making a complete on the same day they agreed to trade for wide receiver Amari Cooper. The Browns also have granted permission to veteran wide receiver Jarvis Landry to seek a trade. I'm gonna imagine that's what it.
Love being live. Honestly, being live is awesome.
My goodness. Well, there it is, everyone. Jarvis Landry, that duo is no longer going to be a thing.
Bleacher Reports Bleacher Reports firing that intern and then deleting that tweet.
Well, so that is the news there. So, in terms of what I was just getting at, though, because great segue, I guess, clean house in a way. They move on from the wide receiver that they, would consider their number one, their leader in the locker room for a long, long time now. The one that probably helped you, really start changing the culture here in Cleveland. Could this be the staging piece of a bigger move in the quarterback market? We've all been seeing it for the last 24 hours. Deshaun Watson, could he be coming to Cleveland? Could he, have been communicating with the Browns? Hey, go out there, go get me a wide receiver one that is young, that can pair with me for a couple of years. And I mean, just something that you have to think about, I don't know that there's any ties between Amari Cooper and, either Deshaun Watson or Baker Mayfield, but still just huge moves right now and huge speculations to be had.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't. I don't see how it could ever hurt the chances. It's like, if he wants to play with a wide receiver who's pretty high regarded around the league, then that makes sense. The chances to, maybe be mobile with a different quarterback only goes up, I think, with the move. To throw it out there, we do have the StreamYard link down below, though. If you want to get on, if you want to hop on, get involved, you can click the first link in the description. Should take you to a queue system where we'll let you in and you can talk. We'll give you a platform to speak. We see that Ashton is in here. He loves Barry, so I know that he's hyped for this.
Jeff just sent you another tweet regarding Jarvis Landry and his camp. I'll just read it while you try to get it up there if possible from Mike here. Jarvis Landry and his camp are open to remaining with the Browns, though it wouldn't be at the $15 million he's currently scheduled to earn. The sides are trying to figure out if staying is possible, though it's likely he's played his last down with Cleveland. So a little bit of a rumbling there in terms of what Jarvis's situation could be. He is, seeking a trade as well. They're allowing him to kind of test the waters, but the big thing here is that he is being paid $15 million. Do teams still regard him as a $15 million wide receiver? To be personally honest, I don't think Jarvis Landry is a $15 million wide receiver anymore. I think in the past he was absolutely worth that money.
Mm-hmm. His trade market's going to be a little stale.
Right. And even that to that extent, his free agent market would be a little stale as well. So who knows what will happen there? I mean, my goodness, it's tough. Listen, I think we can all say as Browns fans, Jarvis Landry has done a lot for this team in terms of being a leader, just being a pillar of, strength and being a leader. I think he's given us a lot. And, it seemed like things were being a little bit sour when he aired his dirty laundry about not the coaching staff, but the training staff, more like it, with the Browns and his injuries in the past. I as much as I would like to maybe keep him after making this move, you're now sitting at $35 million of the cap room with, Amari and Jarvis. Jeff, something that, we didn't really like the idea of with Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry. What are you thinking in terms of money for Jarvis? If the Browns could rework him somehow, how much do you think he'd be willing to come down to, and what do you think he'd have to come down to for the Browns to be willing to keep him?
I think that this is just another difficult part of being in a management position or being in the front office. Like Andrew Berry, now you have to think, like, let's just say behind the scenes, it's been speculated that Jarvis he don't want to play with Baker. Like, let's just say that that's the case. Now, if you're Andrew Berry, do you go to Jarvis and you're like, okay, you promised to restructure for less, and we promise that somebody else is going to be the quarterback. I'm not saying this is the case, but I think something like that could come up in talking and just being like, okay, we're going to give you something if you give us something back. I don't think that that's 100% the case, but I mean, I do agree with all the sentiments. Definitely improve the culture. Huge part of this organization within the last handful of years. It would be sad to see him go, but I'm not seeing him at 15 million. I'm not seeing him at 10 million.
Wow.
I'm already seeing like this is new. Like apparently there's interest in him.
Good. I mean that's
fine.
Good for the Browns.
Yeah, that's fine for everybody involved. But it's like it's gonna have to be a sign or it's gonna have to be a trade and restructure. I would assume to 10 million or less.
Maybe. The thing for us is, what is the compensation going to be for us if we trade him? I mean, it cannot be better than what we got Amari Cooper for, right? There's no way you can trade Jarvis Landry for anything better than a 5th round pick. I mean, hey, I don't know. It's tough to go off of that because you really don't know what his value to other teams is. And when you have someone in the market as good as Amari Cooper get traded to you as a team, and then you're offering up, a lesser player and you're asking for more, I don't think that's a realistic thing to really go off of. So who knows what will happen. It would be nice to get his numbers off the book in a trade way. Honestly, it's better than just straight up cutting him. Getting him to whatever team he prefers for whatever compensation we can get, I would say is a win no matter what. Just, scanning through Twitter, not really seeing anything new. But like Jeff said, being live is really interesting because you get those kind of messages. Yep. Following players. I got Greg Newsom with the eye emoji with the news of the Browns acquiring Amari Cooper. Not really seeing anything else as of right now. Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else to really quote on before we, speculate about other moves. Um, Jeff, so as we've seen with Baker Mayfield, at least the last time we traded for a number one wide receiver, it didn't really work out. Obviously, Amari Cooper is a lot different compared to, Odell Beckham Jr. in terms of a lot of things, not just as a player, but as a player or as a person as well. He's not as involved in the social media as Odell Beckham Jr. was at the time. Um, what is the comparison there? What can we make of that between the two of them? I mean, it is the 3-year anniversary of the Browns trading for Odell Beckham Jr., and I feel like it is a little bit of an interesting topic to kind of get into.
Yeah, I don't like the I don't like that it's the
Not
exact date we traded for
irony of
OBJ.
it.
So that's not a great start, but he's not in the media. He's less of a I think ever since he tried to leave Oakland, I think
Mhm.
it was Oakland when he tried
Yep.
to leave. I think he's been pretty quiet since then, besides the fact of saying that he wants more targets in Dallas, but that was the issue. Like I feel like these past couple of years, you haven't been able to make a true assessment on Dallas, like who their best wide receiver is or like who their best offensive weapon is, really just because they have so, many. Like you couldn't really tell, like if Zeke was healthy, could he have been the best offensive weapon? Of course, Pollard has been very good, but now it's like they moved for Cooper and then they automatically went and got CD Lamb. And, there's
Mhm.
even speculation before they drafted Parsons, like they might go and get another offensive player, which they didn't end up doing. Of course, they have Dak Prescott who could, create with the football. He could be pretty mobile and, he could score touchdowns too with his legs, as Turner is pointing out. He's saying, what he said, what was the deal with Amari Cooper and his dad?
And a Dak, I think.
Oh, and no, I don't know. I think he's
Wait,
making fun of the
what?
OBJ situation.
No, he said he underneath that it's Dak.
Oh, I don't. Oh, yeah, I don't know. Apparently, Cooper didn't like Dak, so
Interesting. Well, I
I
mean,
don't. I don't know if that's helping, Baker's case with us, because I think
who?
Dak's better than Baker, but that's just me.
Hmm, Cooper was being a drama queen.
I
Well,
think
I
it's
mean,
tough not to be when you're playing under Jerry Jones. Like it's very difficult. Like in that offense, there's people complaining in our offense. Like Jarvis wasn't getting enough touches, and he was like wide receiver one. Like I feel like that's just a wide receiver thing, and we've
right.
been known to take in misfits. Andrew Berry loves misfits. Really, I mean, not to comment on people's character, but you've seen it with these prove it deals, especially with like Malik McDowell. Like that didn't really turn out very great at the end of it. The season was fine, but we've like Tack McKinley, not necessarily a misfit, but like not the best reputation, came from Atlanta, just didn't pan out. And we'll just try to take you in and see if it works. Not that he made the move for OBJ like in specific, but there's
Right.
kind of a trend developing there. I see it.
Yeah,
I call Dak
absolutely.
Cousins.
Oh, good. Ooh. Oh God. Oh my God. Wow. Okay, that's interesting. I mean, I think you've seen it with every
The
wide
Black Kirk
receiver.
Cousins.
Um. Oh, you know what? I did.
I
Do
saw that, but
remember seeing that.
I thought that was a troll. I
I
didn't know he
also thought that
actually
was a
said that.
troll. Wow.
I thought that was like some fake like reporter that we've been seeing on Twitter. You know who they are.
Oh wow. That's pretty interesting. I mean, again, with that being said, I mean, we are in speculation right now with Deshaun Watson. Maybe that's a huge move in terms of trying to get him to waive the no trade clause and make the trade possible for Cleveland. That'd be the second guy that we snapped from the state of Texas as of right now. So, I mean, it's interesting. Amari Cooper to me, again, Jeff made great points about CD Lamb, even Gallup over there. And who was the other guy that they
Cedric
had?
Wilson. They got thousands of names.
Yeah, they had a lot of receiving threats. And yeah, I think that takes away from what he was being able to get from Dak Prescott. But you look at his 4 years with the Cowboys, he's eclipsed 1,000 yards twice, had 2 8 touchdown seasons. 2 plus 5 touchdown seasons. So that's all great stuff. This past season, I don't know if he was hurt. I'm going to look at Pro Football really quickly. He played 15 games, so he missed 2 of the potential 17 this year.
Hold on. I got a question. If this is true, if Jarvis went to the Chiefs, is he still too much at 16 million to pay him to not go somewhere else, or would you still trade him even if it was like in the division? Like, what if Baltimore wanted him? Like, would it be worth it to you at 16 million to keep him away from anyone, or like no one at all?
I think it just hurts because you really don't know. The thing that's weird with Jarvis is that no team is gonna make him the number 1 wide receiver. I think he sits at that perfect position as the number 2 wide receiver. And that's all I can think about. The Chiefs wanting him, it really doesn't make it's like Dallas. It doesn't make sense to go into last year's draft after getting CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, having Zeke as their running back, having Gallup, and being like, hey, we need another wide receiver. Like, they have Tyreek, they have Travis Kelce. I'm sure they've lost guys over there now. I don't really follow the Chiefs as closely as I probably should. I couldn't tell you who their wide receiver 2 is right now because I know Sammy Watkins isn't there anymore. Robinson probably.
I mean,
yeah.
It's based I don't know. They just have 2 ones.
Josh Gordon's there.
They don't even need a 2 or Pringle. I mean, Mahomes makes a lot of people better. That's number 1. So it's like, do they really need him? Like, do you really need to go pay him 10 million when you could probably get somebody for cheaper? But at the same time, it's like you have Tyreek Hill and you have Travis Kelce. You have 2 1s, so you don't really need like a confident 2. I even think that they'd be more willing to get like a running back, like get running back help if they are not really sold on Edwards-Helaire. Ash says Hardman too. Like, they have minor names.
So, all right, Jeff, I'm about to send you a tweet right now. We are just going to be reacting to as many things as possible. Cleveland reporter here this time around, Brad Stainbrook.
I saw that. I was going to put that up, but I don't. Where does he get these quotes from?
No,
I'm not discrediting the kid. The kid's a grinder, but
we are just going to report on it. We are just going to react to it. This is not us, but we are going to react to it. I'm told new Browns wide receiver Amari Cooper is ready to come in and ball in Cleveland. I feel like, that's the exact same thing we heard about Odell Beckham Jr. So who knows? I mean, that's a great thing to hear. Don't know if it's factual or anything, but hey, good to maybe.
I love how he put it in quotes too. I love how he didn't leave anything out there. He's ready to come in and ball. Okay.
Right. So, I mean, hey, listen, we really thought that the season was going to start getting, interesting next week, the start of maybe Monday of next week. But hey, here on a Friday night yesterday and a Saturday afternoon today, the Browns have joined in with the trade market after watching Russell Wilson get traded to the Broncos and seeing all these other trade rumors about Deshaun Watson. They finally made the move to go out and upgrade the wide receiving core, which, we haven't even – you alluded to it, Jeff. We haven't even talked about what that could mean for our draft this year. We were all thinking that, hey, wide receiver is – it's 60-40 maybe, 60% leaning towards getting a wide receiver and 40% leaning towards getting a defensive lineman. What does that do to our perspective now? I mean, obviously Jarvis is still on the team. We've talked about that and whatnot, but what realistically do you think happens at 13 now? Or do you think 13 is just going to be used for the trade package?
Oh, there's so many options. I really do think if we take 13, I don't know. I just think after this Clowney situation, especially if he walks, I feel like they're going to be more inclined to develop young edge talent than a young wide receiver talent. Not that trading is any, better in the sense, but we just don't have a good history from an organizational standpoint. Obviously, with the turnover between staff, coaches, et cetera, front office, it's kind of tough to tell. But it's like, who's the last elite great wide receiver that we've had? Josh Gordon pre-suspension. Either way, I like what Bebo is saying here. Andrew Berry is what makes me have confidence in this team. This is what I just want to respond to everybody on Twitter and just copy and paste this and just use these exact words, because when I see people arguing on Twitter, most people can agree that most people trust Andrew Berry.
Right.
Now, he's been catching some strays because, it seemed like maybe the package for Russ wasn't that, that big. Like it maybe could have been bigger. Like, what is Andrew Berry doing? Now he finally makes a move. So you're not going to see people saying that. But it's with wide receivers to draft one at 13 at the same time. Like if you have 3 tight ends and you have 2 running backs, maybe 3 if Dearness remains on the tender. Now you have Amari Cooper. Even if Jarvis moves on, you have DPJ, you have Anthony Schwartz, you invested a 3rd rounder in last year. Where does Demetric Felton fit in? Can we really even get enough plays run to justify drafting a wide receiver at 13? Or are we just going to move some people? Are you going to try to move Schwartz, move Felton? But I mean, it's not like there's no value to him at the moment.
Well, Jeff, if you remember, my favorite set in all of football for the Cleveland Browns last year was the 5 wide. That was quite a frequent formation that we had out there. Of course, we had David Njoku, Austin Hooper out there, but we will need another wide receiver. But you're right. Obviously, Cooper as of right now, Landry as of right now, and DPJ as of right now. If not Jarvis, Anthony Schwartz, and who knows how they're feeling about Anthony Schwartz. He's only a year 1 player, but still, maybe it's not Schwartz they're worried about. Maybe it's DPJ being a consistent player on this team. It is very interesting. I am one. This trade makes me think it's going to start shifting towards that defensive line area. I mean, it's very possible. We still have free agency. We still could go out there and get one of those smaller name guys. I saw Russell Gage as, a smaller name, but definitely as of right now, I would be fine. Like, listen, we've talked about it with the draft in general right now. This wide receiving prospect list is deep. It's very, very deep. We've talked about guys that you could potentially listen. This is a draft where now that you've went out and you've secured it sounds amazing. It really does sound amazing. Amari Cooper and Garrett Wilson, Cleveland Browns, imagine. But at the same time, like, guys, we gotta, we don't have name me our D line right now. Like Jeff knows, name me the starting defensive line right now and rationalize picking a wide receiver at 13 after making this move for Amari Cooper. I mean, there are guys that are going to be in the 2nd round that probably should have been 1st round guys. I mean, I think of it right now. There's 2 guys that come off the top of my head, Jahan Dotson from Penn State and Jamison Williams, who tore his ACL at the end of the season for them in the championship. He's not going to be ready for the season right away, I think. But
so many complicating factors.
Yep. I think as of right now, I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to say we lean towards the defensive line. As of right now, obviously free agency could change things. It could lean it more in the direction of getting another wide receiver or getting another defensive lineman in the draft. So a lot of things to think of there.
Have a guest.
Ooh, I see it.
You do? I hope he's there. He privately chatted, so I'm hoping he's there. I'm gonna have to get rid of this because he's not gonna fit on the screen. Right, our buddy Derek is joining the stream. Derek, what is going on?
What is up, boys?
What's up?
It is to be a Browns fan, man.
Oh no, don't come on here with that. I feel like I heard the same when we traded for OBJ too.
True.
I don't want to jinx it. But
I think
excited.
It's a little bit different though.
Give us your thoughts, initial reaction.
Well, I guess I'll start before I get into speculation. Let's just start with Amari first. Amari Cooper was somebody who was really I'm not just saying this because we now have him, but he was number 1 on my list when it came out that the Cowboys were looking to either move him or just flat out cut him. I've always liked Amari Cooper, but I think he just really fits what we want to do. I think that he's somebody who can come in and fill a desperate hole for the Browns. A veteran, because with Jarvis being moved, which seems 100% like that's going to happen now, you're going to bring in a veteran receiver, and now you have a guy who can stretch the field. We all love Jarvis Landry, but he really can't stretch the field. So I think bringing in Amari Cooper allows you to do that. I mean, if we end up keeping our picks, I think odds are we go with defensive line in the first round, as much as I would love to pair a Chris Olave or Garrett Wilson or Jamison Williams or even a Drake London. I don't like Drake London that much, but to me, Amari Cooper's skill set is what you were looking for. A guy who's a really good route runner who can be that number one receiver. So I think that would free up to bring in a guy like a London who you can kind of use in a certain, in a certain way. Now, I don't know if you guys talked about this or even if you want to talk about this, but I'll just tell you flat out, I think Deshaun Watson is coming to Cleveland. I think this is what it was for. I could be wrong, but Andrew Berry does not let these things get out. That's one thing we know. He keeps everything on wrap. He convinced the fan base that they weren't even looking at other options. And there was people who believed that. So the fact that this stuff is getting out now tells me that they are beyond legitimately interested. And to me, I just believe that what happened probably was Watson, he came out with that list of requirements, I guess you could say, on what he wanted, and it was coaching, offensive line, and defense, if I'm correct. The Browns have that, but look at what we have now. You just added a number one receiver. So that, to me, is enough to entice Deshaun Watson and convince him to come here. So maybe it's just wishful thinking on my side of things, but when there's this much smoke, there's fire somewhere. And even if it is just trying, they are trying with everything they have. So I don't think you can be upset at that.
Yeah, I really wonder what as of right now, it seems like he is available for trade, whereas, with the allegations and with the, court proceedings, he wasn't going to be traded to anyone because of those. I think the big thing for me is which team is just going to be willing to shell out more. Because at this point, he does have to waive the no clause. And obviously rebuilding teams like the Panthers who, might be willing to do all that. They have a high enough pick to get away with it from the Houston perspective. But also, they need to draft a quarterback or they need to get a quarterback in return. The big thing for me is Andrew Berry. Yes, he just makes this trade for Amari Cooper, but all we give up is a 5th-round pick. We have not seen him make the huge moves yet where he gives up a singular first round or a singular second-round pick to go and get a guy. Is he going to be able – because, listen, we all know it. We all know that the lookout of this trade is going to be similar, if not more compensation than what Russell Wilson was gotten for the Broncos.
I do think, and this might be, a lot of people will probably disagree with this, but with that being said, I don't think it's going to be massively more. If it is more, like convincingly more, the reason for that to me is just because of how his cap is. Because if you look at what his contract is compared to some of these other quarterbacks, his cap for the next however many years is very reasonable. I can't remember who it was, but they said that they showed the numbers. If you compare what the Browns would be paying Watson to be compared with what the Browns would be paying Baker for, I believe it was next year or something like that, it's very similar. So this is not out of the possibility that this could happen in terms of cap, because I know that's one thing that a lot of people look to is there's no way, like we don't have the money. We just, bought Amari Cooper in and all that. It could happen. So it might be a little bit more, but I also think the Browns do have a little bit more to throw in there in terms of players.
They have
it's
the
going to
compensation picks now too.
Yeah, and it's going to really suck. But listen, Kareem Hunt is a really valuable piece that we have that we don't. Not that we don't need him, but it's something that could entice the Texans.
Yes. If
So
they
we
don't
have
want
those
picks,
guys.
if they don't want just picks, I think there's 2 points to it, which Ashton is saying here, because I think it would be more than Russell because Russell's older. I was shocked to find out, mostly because he hasn't played in a year and a half, that Deshaun Watson is 5 months younger than Baker. So that's a big thing, is age, of course, when they're looking at these contracts. But I mean, you might have leverage. Like it sounds like terrible to say, but it's like it's like backwards, but it's like Andrew Berry might be like, all right, what if he gets suspended? Like you should take less from us because there's a chance that it couldn't be, his issues might, follow him to wherever he goes, which is definitely, totally plausible way to think. And we got some more people in chat talking and grubbing what's going on. I got a question for Derek, but let's just see if we have any other chatters. I just shout out to everybody in the chat. Hit the like button, hit subscribe really quick. But
yeah, I think right before you ask your question, Jeff, I'm just looking at the comments and, wanting to go off of your point about the Watson thing. The problem with, not giving up, there's no way it's not going to cost more than, in my mind, no way it's not going to cost as much more than the Rush trade because he's already signed for the next 3 years. And at the end of the day, when he was playing football, I think we can all agree at the very least he was a top 10 quarterback. I think for at least 3 of the 4 years that he has been playing. And he can do a lot more than, what we've, seen out of Baker in terms of, making the play of running through the pocket and staying in the pocket. It's just, 6 games is like almost nothing. And like Jeff and I talked about last night, that's where you keep the Case Keenum. That's where Case Keenum finally becomes your, piece that you kept for reasons of, if something happens to Baker Mayfield and he's actually out for multiple weeks and whatnot. So I don't know. I think the compensation is going to have to be huge. And that's the biggest thing for me with Andrew Berry is we haven't seen that move yet, but he's only been here for 2 years. So that could be a fair argument.
But this could be his, and I don't mean to cut you off, Jeff.
No, you're perfect.
I think that this could be his real cornerstone, diamond on the crown move because everybody knows Baker is not the guy that he's picked. So this is his chance to go out and really put this stamp on, the effect that he's had as GM on the Browns. And just quickly, one thing that I think people forget. In 2017, Andrew Berry was on the Browns. Andrew Berry did his homework on Deshaun Watson. So this is not like he's all of a sudden going, oh, I know Deshaun Watson. I like him. No, he's done his research. And, per all the reports, the Browns have stayed very close, in monitoring this situation. So I'm just saying I just think there's a fire going on.
Yeah, we definitely see where you're coming from, and not to get swept up into all the moves, but this is a question that I've just thought of, and me and Justin have talked about, and this is why I want to ask you because not that other people that come on here, don't follow the team very closely, but we specifically know in your case, you're a Cleveland, sports YouTuber, you do sports, you follow the team, just as close as us, probably more honestly as far as the draft and stuff like that, but how crazy has it been like in, this off season and even, with even starting like the OBJ like dilemma, how crazy to you is it that like we hear something and it was never heard before. And then it's like, all right, the move's already done. Like what the first thing you said when you came on, like Amari was going to be high on your list, but you didn't even know if they were available. Like, I feel like that's a majority of Browns fans. And it's like, how shocked are you where like we hear one rumor on Twitter and then it's like, as soon as it's eligible for a move to happen, like, the Cowboys are like, yeah, we're going to deal him or we're going to let him go. And then the Browns are just automatically winning the sweepstakes.
Yeah. I think it's just a testament to how Andrew Berry operates. We complain about his press conferences and not giving much away. It's for stuff like this. I mean, Andrew Berry behind the scenes, this is why everybody says, trust Andrew Berry. Just trust him because you might not like what you hear. You might not like what you see, but you always know behind the scenes stuff is happening. I mean, we talked about it before the draft last year about JOK and about after we took Greg Newsome and we knew that JOK had officially slipped into the second round.
Yep.
Trade up. We kept saying that, but it was like, will we? We haven't seen Andrew Berry, do that for a linebacker. It's like, well, guess what? It happened. So, and again, not to keep harping on Watson, but I think this is a big sign in the fact that this stuff is out here because it would not be out here if it wasn't real. That's not how Andrew Berry works.
Or I think the Browns would have openly denied it. I think, it's not like there's media availability, so it's tough to definitively say that, but it's like, if you really think that the Browns were 100% out, I think the team, I think
Mhm.
somebody would have made a statement. Like Barry would have said something, maybe not publicly, but it's like you hear these teams like the Steelers instantly said no. And it's like
Yeah.
other teams are included with the Browns as far as, being on the radar for Deshaun Watson. So I think even though we don't hear a whole lot from Andrew Berry, we don't hear a whole lot from Kevin Stefanski, I think somebody would have denied it, but maybe I could be way off base.
You know what I'm really interested in? And this is a hypothetical again. Let's just assume, right? Let's assume at this point the Browns trade for Watson, which again, I know to some people it's a stretch, but let's live in this hypothetical world. The players that we have complained about, David Njoku not getting used to his full potential, Austin Hooper being very disappointing. My thing is now, okay, let's go into next year and let's see what those guys do. Because what if it's not that they suck necessarily? And I don't want to say that they're great by any means, but what happens if next year Austin Hooper all of a sudden becomes the Austin Hooper in Atlanta? Like, I know it sounds crazy to say that, but I mean, I think it's a real possibility you have to look at. Same goes with Njoku too. We have not seen David Njoku reach his full potential yet, in my opinion.
Well, that's what before Justin goes, that's what I was telling him before you hopped on. I was like, let's just say behind the scenes, hypothetically, Jarvis is fed up with playing with Baker. And Andrew Berry's like, all right, we're going to be locked in on Watson. If you restructure, we'll keep you. And we promise Baker's not going to be the quarterback. Like, is that a high possibility that's going on behind the scenes? Probably not, but it could be a part of the equation. But Justin, let's hear what you have to say.
I don't think I'm going to be flat out. I don't think Austin Hooper is the guy that we thought I don't think he'll ever be. I don't think he was the guy that we got from Atlanta.
We just have too many tight ends for him to be that way.
That and just the fact that we've watched him, like, listen, the thing that you watch with Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Darren Waller is these guys, they have yak yards. I watched Austin Hooper too many times catch the ball in open space and just fall down to his feet. Like, I mean, him, like, he's the one guy that I'm just like, I've lost all prospect on him. I don't care what listen, if he does, I'm wrong. I'll straight up, I'll let Jeff roast me, whatnot.
No, I agree. I kind of agree with you, dude. It's like, is that even like a positive? Like, I don't even want to pay both of them. I didn't even want to pay both of them before Amari or before, Watson rumors. So,
I mean, he's serviceable in the sense that, like, hey, like, I think he gets one drop, like one really easy drop out of the way early on in the game. And then he's like a pretty good 5-yard, reception tight end, kind of how like Jarvis was a really good reception wide receiver. But at the end of the day, I don't expect a lot out of him. Now, David Njoku is a completely different scenario. I think he's still super young, and I think he's an athletic freak, and we really haven't seen him, break onto that scene yet when he really could. I mean, I could see him running like wheel routes and, getting open and, making guys miss, but it's just been the case of like, hey, our offense, and we haven't even really gotten into this, and I'm probably going to be in the minority here thinking that, hey, I told Jeff in a text or in a DM here that I worry for any quarterback coming into the Cleveland situation, not just because of football itself, but also the fan base. I think the fan base and quarterbacks do not mix well. You'll have half people that we've already seen it. We've already seen it that half the people are for the trade, half the people aren't for the trade. I am indifferent. I'm a Cleveland Browns fan first and foremost. If Andrew Berry goes out and makes a move, I will, retroactively root for our team, and that'll be that. But, at the end of the day, it's like, hey, there's still a lot that we know about this team that we will still be a running team first. Now, will things change? I'm sure Kevin Stefanski will find a way to, change the offense a little bit. I don't think it drastically changes with the getting of Amari Cooper or even if we got Deshaun Watson. I know Deshaun Watson can run, and I know Deshaun Watson can get out of the pocket, stay in the pocket, and make a lot of good plays. But does that mean that Kevin Stefanski is going to go ahead and, not give Nick Chubb all the touches that he probably deserves and Kareem Hunt all the touches that he deserves, or Dearness Johnson? And, are we not going to see as much of the 2 to 3 tight end sets? I don't know. That's a lot of like what I'm worried about, because I didn't see it last year. Obviously, 2 years in, he gets his quarterback, the quarterback gets hurt and he's not able to do a lot of the things that he did in the first year that we thought he was great at. And so it's really like an interesting prospect. And the big thing for me with the Deshaun Watson rumors is that I think the reason you see us looking into that, and I was surprised we didn't look into the Russell Wilson thing, is that this team, as Andrew Berry came into it, will never probably be close enough to get a franchise quarterback in the top 5. You look at the quarterbacks this year and you're like, hey, none of them really pop out to be that guy. And so they haven't drafted a guy since they've been here, and they're not going to draft a guy probably this year that's in the first or second round. So a lot to be considered here and a lot to be thought about.
I just want to address quickly, and you guys can kick me off whenever. I know you guys got other people who wanting to get on and whatnot, but I just want to say this because obviously we're all Browns fans here. I'm assuming everybody in your chat's Browns fans. Listen, as a fan base, there's one thing that we have to get over, okay? And I know this is going to be harsh, and I know it's not going to be easy because I get it. There's a lot of you who have watched this team for years upon years upon years, and it's been nothing but, heartbreak. The loser mentality has got to go. This idea that if the Browns move on from Baker Mayfield, there are people who legitimately believe that this team will be a couple-win team if Baker Mayfield is not on this team. You have got to get over this, because if you can never get over this, you're not going to move forward. This team won't, or at least as a fan base, will never be what we could fully become if you don't get over that. The idea that Baker Mayfield is the only guy on this team is laughable. Look at this roster. There's a reason why you have guys, again, assuming that Watson is remotely interested. There's a reason why he would be interested. It's because the team that you have built, all the years of sucking was to make this team. Okay.
Right.
So to the fans, I get it. It sucks. A lot of hard years. We're not there anymore. And we have to stop looking back. We have to move forward. You have to.
I mean, when we drafted him, Baker's rookie year, and it wasn't even that good. I think that those statements might have been closer to true. Like if Baker wasn't the quarterback, we might only won. The team was bad, is what I'm trying to say back then. The team isn't like that anymore. I know what you're saying. It's structured totally differently. We have cornerstone positional players. This is a recent thing, at least from since we've been covering it. I think, it's probably been around for general managers and executives and stuff like that for a while, but they're talking about these cornerstone positions. Quarterback, obviously, I would say that's up in the air for the Browns, 100%. There's no other way to look at it. A good edge rusher. Okay, you have one of those. You have an elite one. Congratulations. Thank the Lord, honestly, that worked out as well as it has. Paid him his money. Nobody cares. Myles Garrett, love him. Cornerback. Okay, where's the Denzel deal? Just get the Denzel deal done at this point. Maybe you want to do free agency and make additions first, but it's you need a cornerback in the AFC North. There's no even with some lackluster wide receiving cores. I don't even think Baltimore has that many good wide receivers, but you're going to need 2 really competent cornerbacks to play Jamar Chase, to play T. Higgins, to play Deontay Johnson, to play Chase Claypool. It's just one of those things. So we have 2 out of the 3 cornerstone positions, obviously left tackle or, tackles in general. Could be an interesting discussion. I want to go back to what Turner said up here because he's actually being serious, but it's actually interesting to what he brought up because weren't we in the sweepstakes for Ridley before he got suspended? Our name was linked
allegedly,
to him. Yeah. And then Barry just pivots right to Cooper. So it's I thought that was interesting to have it seemed like we really wanted Ridley, and then Barry had it's not to call it a backup plan, but just one of those things where he just pivoted, went to a different wide receiver. And I do agree with you, Derek. I think this changes the draft strategy a whole lot. Even if you do go wide receiver, people saying, Amari Cooper's only 6'1", you need another bigger wide receiver. Like you said, Drake London. I'm seeing people say London in the chat as well. Cooper only being 6'1".
I just want to ask this real quick. So in a scenario that the Browns do trade for Watson, obviously we're not going to have probably first round pick this year, probably second round pick this year at the very least. My guess would be that our first pick in this draft would be in round 3, whether if it's one of the 2 picks. So given that scenario, we've talked, I'm sure you guys have, I know I have, talked about the depth at the wide receiver position. Do you think that the Browns could, package some of these later picks? Maybe what they get in return for Landry. Hopefully, fingers crossed, maybe we can get like a 4th, something like that. Package like a 3rd and a 4th, maybe move up into the 2nd and pick a receiver, or even if we do just stand and pick with our whatever first pick is, like in the 3rd round. What do you guys think about that scenario where you would have Amari Cooper, obviously, as your number 1, and then you could bring in somebody like a Sky Moore, Justin Ross, because, again, this is a conversation that we keep having. As deep as this is at wide receiver, it's not like they're going to go back to back to back. Like, there will be guys that fall. It always happens. So what do you think about that in terms of, like, competition, between like Donovan Peoples-Jones and then somebody in the draft between the wide receiver 2 and 3 spots?
Here's the problem with the Watson trade in the sense of that it really throws, and it doesn't throw a wrench in it because we still have free agency. Free agency is huge, obviously. We don't know who we can get in terms of defensive line, but Jeff and I have been nonstop talking about Jeff since day one, since we did a way too early mock draft 1, had us drafting defensive linemen first and whatnot. And so, that's your biggest problem is you take away 4 picks probably for the next 2 years in the top, 60. And Andrew Berry, we know in the top, first 2 rounds has been very, very good. Obviously getting Greg Newsome, JOK,
Delpit,
Jedrick Wills, and Delpit. Yeah, I mean, that's like why I look at that prospect. I'm like, hey, I just don't know that Andrew Berry is willing to do that. But I also know for a fact that in 2 years, if I went on a 3rd year with this regime and they didn't go out and get a prospective quarterback that they felt could, now, like I said, I don't believe in this draft class whatsoever, but we've seen guys like Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson emerge from the 2nd, 3rd, 4th rounds and be very good quarterbacks. There could potentially be a guy that they see in there. I've always thought that Desmond Ridder could be a guy that, you bring him on for a year, and maybe if Baker doesn't end up, we stick with Baker and he doesn't end up, being the guy, that they play Ridder and they try to look for another situation somewhere. But as of right now, and Derek, not to just like completely dodge your question, because I think it's still a very valuable one. It's going to be hard to get back into the 2nd round just because teams that, and maybe it wouldn't be, maybe I always find draft capital to be a very like weird and tricky situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially on draft day, you never know like what teams are thinking. If they need 3rd, 4th round picks, you could always get back into the 2nd round. But I think the problem is right now, Jeff and I both know, and like I said, as of right now, in the present we're living in, our defensive line, Derek, what is our starting lineup outside of Myles Garrett? Like that's the biggest issue. Obviously, we're still talking about getting a wide receiver, but I think the bigger question is, hey, if we trade all these draft picks away, what are we doing about the defensive line?
Yeah, it's definitely a tricky thing to kind of figure out. I heard that the guy, I forget his name, but the guy in Cincinnati, not Ogunjobi, I forget his name.
BJ? Is it BJ?
Yeah,
BJ Hill. Yeah.
I've heard that the Browns are interested in him, and Ashton, the Joker here, says Cox from Philly, Fletcher Cox.
I like Cox from Philly. Liked him last year. I thought we should have traded for him at the deadline.
Yeah, I think that could be a legitimate option. And again, I hate to keep going back to this, but it is just the reality. Guys want to play with teams that they know they can trust the quarterback. I'm sorry. It sucks to say that, but it's just the truth. So again, I think where we're at right now, you're probably going to have to spend money in order to get guys on the defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were to go out and make a trade, I do believe that it would be a tad bit easier, and maybe that's just wishful thinking. But I'm really concerned about that opposite edge position because I just don't know how much money the Browns would be willing to put into that. And where would they go? And this is another thing. I'm glad that this comment just came up. Olivier Vernon is back healthy.
Yep, we've been talking about him.
Do the Browns bring him back on a cheap deal? I mean, I think it would be easy to sell, right? Am I wrong in saying that?
He'd know the system. I mean, he's familiar with Woods.
The trade market's really interesting with these older guys like a Fletcher Cox. Like, who knows what the market is for him? I mean, I can't believe that we got Amari Cooper for a 5th-round pick. It's like, how can you? You're telling me there's no other teams in the league that offered more than a 5th-round pick for Amari Cooper, a clear-cut number one, Derek? I mean, it's really interesting. And that could be a quick fix and like a real rationale for, just being like, hey, we're trading picks. We're in the Rams situation right now. We're in a win now mode. We have cornerstone pieces like they do, Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald. We have Denzel Ward and Myles Garrett. So like, it's a very, interesting situation, but a lot of speculation to have. And
look at that magic for Amari Cooper. I could not stop laughing when I saw what we gave. We swapped 6th-round picks. Literally. We didn't give up a 5th and a 6th. We gave up a 5th and swapped. Like, how does that happen? It's crazy. I saw a Dolphins reporter was so mad because
that's the best.
Amari. He wanted Amari bad, but he said the Browns are going to trade for him and not even let it be a possibility. So when I heard that, I thought, all right, it's going to suck, but we're probably going to have to give up one of those thirds is what I was thinking.
Justin said last night when we were live, like a 4th. He said 4th and Landry for a swap. So
really, wow, yeah.
That was interesting. I mean, either way, there's a lot to talk about. Hold on, everybody in chat. Number one, we appreciate you all. It's pretty hopping in here. So we appreciate how educated the people in chat are. Talking Christian Watson, talking Alec Pierce, 3rd and 4th round wide receivers. Where if we bring up a question about not having a 1st or 2nd round pick, there's people in the chat. Olivier Vernon, a lot of interesting points. Ashton's always Randy Moss once got traded for a 4th. It just does happen like that.
Y'all got a great comment section. Mine are just a bunch of morons.
Well, number 2, like the video. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. And number 3, DF Sports on YouTube. Go over, check him out. The dude does great work. Probably easily one of the coolest dudes that we've met. Justin and I have met through this journey of being on YouTube covering Cleveland sports. So make sure you go subscribe to him over there. You could find him on Twitter. DF_sports_. So make sure you go check him out.
Oh, if you want an entertainment, go check out my Twitter. I love trolling people.
First line of his bio is anyone but Drake London at 13.
And that's not even real. I just do that because I'm in a group chat with some friends and they literally cannot stop loving on Drake London. So I just do that to troll them and it makes them mad.
All right, listen, boys. I do have a family thing happening at 4.
We're about to hop off, Derek. We appreciate you coming on, bringing your insight, though.
Yeah, sorry I rambled so much. Sorry
to
anybody
whose spot I took. Perfect as always.
We appreciate your thoughts, dude. All right, Derek. We'll talk to you later. Go Browns. Go Browns and go Amari Cooper.
All right. See you later, boys.
See ya. All right, Justin, you want to wrap it up for us here?
Yeah, listen, everyone. I'm sorry I got to cut this short for all of us, but like I said, Jeff got a video. Yeah, Jeff got a video out for us really quick. I did want to hop on. I mean, obviously, he did a great job covering it. Wanted to get some opinions in the chat. You guys were all fantastic, like Jeff said. Make sure you guys are subscribing, hitting the like button, leaving more comments on the video. You can always leave comments on this video afterwards. Make sure you guys go follow DF Sports. We really do appreciate you all coming out here. And like we said, we're going to try to stay on top of it. Obviously, as of right now, the Deshaun Watson stuff is still circling. And we'll try to, be available as possible. But if Jeff's got to do another solo video, because I'm going to see the Batman again tonight, that's going to happen. Or if Jeff's doing something, I got to hop on here for
a bit. It's not tonight. We're going to be in trouble if it's tonight. I'm here like Wednesday, though. So,
yeah. But we appreciate you all. So, with that being said, we'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.